Netscape was acquired in 1999 for $4.3 billion by AOL. What was that? What was that like? What were some memorable aspects of that?
Well, that was the height of the .com boom bubble bust. I mean, that was the frenzy. If you watch Succession, that was like what they did in the fourth season with Gojo and the merger with their. So it was like the height of like one of those kind of dynamics. And so,
would you recommend Succession? By the way, I'm more of a Yellowstone guy.
Yellowstone's very American. I'm very proud of you. That is.
I just talked to Matthew McConaughey, and I'm full on Texan at this point.
Good. I heartily approve.
And he will be doing the sequel to Yellowstone.
Yeah,
so I'm very exciting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I can't wait.
So that's a rude interruption by me, by way of Succession. So that was at the height of the
deal making and money and just the fur flying and like craziness. And so, yeah, it was just one of those. It was just like, I mean, this, the entire Netscape thing from start to finish was 4 years, which was like for one of these companies, it's just like incredibly fast. You know, we went public 18 months after we were founded, which virtually never happens. So it was just this incredibly fast kind of meteor streaking across the sky. And then of course it was this, and then there was just this explosion, right, that happened because then it was almost immediately followed by the .com crash. It was then followed by AOL buying Time Warner, which again is the Succession guys kind of play with that, which turned out to be a disastrous deal. One of the famous, kind of disasters in business history. And then, what became an internet depression on the other side of that. But then in that depression in the 2000s was the beginning of broadband and smartphones and Web 2.0, right? And then social media and search and every SaaS and everything that came out of that. So,
what did you learn from just the acquisition? I mean, this is so much money. What's interesting, because it must have been very new to you that this software stuff, you can make so much money. There's so much money swimming around. I mean, I'm sure the ideas of investment was starting to get born there.
Yeah. So let me lay it. So here's the thing. I don't know if I figured out then, but figured out later, which is software is a technology that it's like the concept of the Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone in alchemy transmutes lead into gold, and Newton spent 20 years trying to find the Philosopher's Stone, never got there. Nobody's ever figured it out. Software is our modern Philosopher's Stone, and in economic terms, it transmutes labor into capital, which is like a super interesting thing. And by the way, like Karl Marx is rolling over in his grave right now, because of course that's a complete refutation of his entire theory. Transmutes labor into capital, which is as follows: is somebody sits down at a keyboard and types a bunch of stuff in, and a capital asset comes out the other side, and then somebody buys that capital asset for $1 billion. Like, that's amazing. Right. It's literally creating value right out of thin air, right? Out of purely human thought, right? And so there are many things that make software magical and special, but that's the economics.
So I wonder what Marx would have thought about that.
Oh, he would have completely broke his brain, because of course the whole thing was that kind of technology is inconceivable when he was alive. It was all industrial era stuff, and so any kind of machinery necessarily involved huge amounts of capital, and then labor was on the receiving end of the abuse.
Yep.
Right, but like a software engineer is somebody who basically transmutes his own labor into an actual capital asset, creates permanent value. Well, and in fact, it's actually very inspiring. That's actually more true today than before. So when I was doing software, the assumption was all new software basically has a sort of a parabolic sort of life cycle, right? So you ship the thing, people buy it. At some point, everybody who wants it has bought it, and then it becomes obsolete, and it's like bananas. Nobody buys old software. These days, Minecraft, Mathematica, Facebook, Google, you have the software assets that are, have been around for 30 years that are gaining in value every year, right? And they're being World of Warcraft, right? Salesforce.com, like every single year, they're being polished and polished and polished and polished. They're getting better and better, more powerful, more valuable. So we've entered this era where you can actually have these things that actually build out over decades, which by the way, is what's happening right now with like GPT. And so now, and this is why there is always sort of a constant investment frenzy around software, is because look, when you start one of these things, it doesn't always succeed, but when it does, now you might be building an asset that builds value for 4 or 5, 6 decades to come. If you have a team of people who have the level of devotion required to keep making it better. And then the fact that, of course, everybody's online, there's 5 billion people that are a click away from any new piece of software. So the potential market size for any of these things is, nearly infinite.
It must have been surreal back then, though.
Yeah. This was all brand new, right? Yeah, back then this was all brand new. These were all, brand new. Had you rolled out that theory in even 1999, people would have thought you were smoking crack. So that's emerged over time.